the process. If you are in a season right now of promise, then you know better than anyone that you didn't just step into the promise, that it was a process. That's why you don't understand why people are jealous of your promise. The people standing in a promise will let you know that the promise don't even feel like a promise by the time you get finished going through the process. Somebody got to tell you. Every now and then someone got to tell you, girl, you know this is what you prayed for. I didn't even know that this is what I prayed for because it cost so much for me to step into it that I didn't realize I was in the promise. You wouldn't want the promise if you knew the process. If you understood what I lost along the way, if you understood who I had to become along the way, if you understood who walked away from me, who I had to walk away from, if you could see the tears that I cried, you want the promise, but baby, you can't get the promise without the process. If you're standing in a promise and you are allowing people to celebrate your promise without informing them of the process, you are robbing them of the truth. They ought to know your process. They ought to know that I didn't just get here because I did everything the right way. There were some moments where I didn't think I was going to make it at all, but God stepped into the process. He's not just the God of my promise. He was the God of my process. He taught me how to walk this thing out. He taught me how to raise these children. He taught me how to build the life after the divorce. He taught me that I didn't have to take my own life. He wasn't just the God of my promise. Don't look at my promise. Don't be distracted by the promise. Let me tell you about the process. Let me tell you when I almost lost my mind. Let me tell you when it didn't make any sense, but God made a way out of no way. He is the God of the process. You're praising him for being the God of the promise, but I praise him for being the God of the process. That you came in the midnight hour and wrapped your arms around me when I was crying tears that no one knew I was crying. He was the God of the process. When I didn't know whether or not I could raise the child, he gave me language on the spot because he's the God of the promise. When I wasn't sure who would stay or who would walk away, he stayed in the midst of it all. He is the God of the process. Oh no, I feel like we could do better than that. I need about 5 crazy people who know that you know that you know. I wouldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for the God of the process. He was with me in the courtroom. He was with me in the doctor's office. His name ought to be on the degree because Lord knows I didn't have what it took, but he was the God of the process. That's a word for somebody. Don't wait to meet God in the promise. God says, I'll meet